The scariest team in the NBA next season isn't Denver, it's not OKC, it's definitely not Boston. It's a team that's just added a two-time Finals MVP, has a 23-year-old All-Star leading all 5 major stats, and ranked 4th in defensive rating last year. Yeah, the Houston Rockets are going to be terrifying.
Spike from behind!
After pulling off a blockbuster trade for Kevin Durant, the Houston Rockets are hoping to follow in the footsteps of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Bringing in Durant instantly widens Houston's championship window after last season's first-round exit. And sure, at 36 years old, the future Hall of Famer doesn't exactly scream extended window, but the Rockets have the flexibility to pivot around their young stars, Alperen Sengun and Amen Thompson. They've got a mix of promising talent, seasoned role players, and a stash of high-upside draft picks to work with. Oh, and the man pulling the strings? A hyper-focused maniac who refuses to let his team get complacent just because of one good regular season. But to be fair, that run in the last regular season was phenomenal. Let's go back in time for a sec. In 2021, the Rockets won just 17 games. In 21-22, they won 20 games. In 22-23, they won 22 games. Well, technically this is progress, but let's be real. In an 82-game season, 20 wins is brutal. So, in the summer of 2023, Houston went for a culture reset. They hired Ime Udoka, a no-nonsense, defensive-minded coach with a track record for holding young stars accountable. Most importantly, he had proven he could turn things around quickly. And in year 1, he did exactly that. The Rockets jumped to 41 wins in 23-24. This wasn't just any Cinderella story, it was proof of concept. This team had what it takes to aim higher. But coming off that breakout year, reality hit early. They lost 2 of their first 3 games of the 24-25 season to mediocre opponents.
Sander! Here's Williams, here come both teams!
Including a shocking home opening defeat to the lowly Charlotte Hornets. For a team with playoff expectations, the bad habits showing up this early were more alarming than the losses themselves. Udoka wasn't having it. With some old school, straight shooting adjustments, the Rockets refocused, going 18-9 to close out the calendar year. In January, Jabari Smith Jr. fractured his left hand, sidelining one of their most versatile forwards. But the setback opened the door for Amen Thompson, who stepped into the starting lineup and built a legitimate Defensive Player of the Year case. Still, inconsistency lingered. Between February and early March, Houston dropped 11 of 16 games, another reminder of how grueling the regular season can be. But a 15-5 finish, with wins over playoff caliber teams, locked in the number 2 seed in a tough Western Conference. The Rockets leaned on their top 4 defense all year and planned to ride it into the postseason. Instead, they bowed out in 7 games to a much more experienced rival, the Golden State Warriors. The loss wasn't just about inexperience. Houston's season-long half-court spacing and three-point shooting issues boiled over at the worst time. In Game 7, they went just 5 for 17 from deep and scored a dismal 78 points per 100 half-court possessions. For perspective, the Hornets, dead last in the league in that category during the regular season, still averaged 90. The message was clear. Their elite defense was ready, but their offense needed more ways to win than just crashing the glass. Still, this playoff run was a necessary step. For most of these young Rockets, it was their first taste of postseason basketball. They have an incredible identity that Ime has instilled in them, Warriors coach Steve Kerr said. Grit, toughness, you know what you're going to get when you play them. But Udoka wasn't into moral victories. The Warriors took Houston's offense that lacked a well-defined leader and flipped it against them, forcing someone to take over. And nobody did.
And turnover. Green lays it in.
Sengun finished Game 7 with 21 points on 23 shots. Van Vliet was held to 17 after 3 strong games, and Jalen Green, completely taken out of the series, had just 8 points on 8 shots. Udoka knew his team wasn't ready for that stage, yet, but he's expecting even more next year. We've taken steps, and that's shown not only in our record, but in our guys' growth and understanding, he said. We always want more. Selfish, greedy, whatever you want to call it. Everyone's goal is to be better and come back better. And the Rockets didn't just talk about it, they backed it up. First, General manager Rafael Stone and owner Patrick Fertitta aggressively kept their core intact. Udoka signed a long-term extension, veterans Fred VanVleet and Steven Adams re-signed quickly, trusted veteran role players Aaron Holiday, Jeff Green and Jay Sean Tate all returned. Jabari Smith Jr., able to play positions 3 through 5, a strong defender and one of Udoka's favourites, inked a new deal as well. But when the chance came to add another piece to their core, Houston pounced, and the whole league took notice. And no, calling this move historic is not an exaggeration. It was the largest trade in NBA history. Centerpiece Kevin Durant to Houston in exchange for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, and a haul of other assets, with no fewer than 7 teams and 13 players involved. That's 7 teams. The Rockets also reunited with an old friend from the Harden D'Antoni era, Clint Capela. He'll round out a deep front court with Sengun and Steven Adams, doubling down on the bully ball lineups Houston used to dominate the glass last season. As on-brand and financially savvy as the Capela pickup is, make no mistake, this was all about Durant. Last season, KD averaged 26.6 points on a mismatched, unhappy Suns squad. Over his 17-year career, the 6'11 forward has put up 27.2 points and 7 rebounds a night. He's a 4-time scoring champ, 2 times Finals MVP, and one of only 8 players in NBA history with more than 30,000 points. Having played against Kevin and coached him before, I know he's the type of competitor who fits with what we've been building here in Houston, said Udoka. His skill level, love of basketball, and dedication to his craft have made him one of the most respected players of his generation. Durant gives the Rockets the championship DNA they've been missing. He doesn't just raise their ceiling, he raises their expectations. General manager Rafael Stone was just as blunt. He's Kevin Durant. He's really good. He's super efficient. He had a great year last year. Obviously, he's not 30 anymore, but he hasn't really fallen off, and we think he can be hugely impactful for us.
He's been the man in the clutch for the Suns over the last several years, but it's Durant!
The Durant deal, which cost Houston 2 starters and draft capital, was the clearest sign yet that the Rockets intend to compete at the highest level. And in the first hours of free agency, they doubled down on that intent. They signed veteran forward Dorian Finney-Smith to a 4-year, $53 million deal, adding more defense, better floor spacing, and taking a key role player away from the rival Lakers. For a 52-win team, to land Durant without gutting its depth was already a massive win. Adding Finney-Smith and Capela on team-friendly deals put Houston in rare air. How does that rotation stack up league-wide? This is now arguably the deepest roster in basketball, a team that's gone from patient rebuild to all-in contender in less than 3 seasons. And Udoka now has the personnel to play any style, anytime. But how do these moves fix the problems Houston faced in the playoffs? Let's start with Durant. For all of Phoenix's dysfunction last year, they still finished top 10 in half-court offense, largely thanks to KD's steady production.
O'Neal, up ahead to KD. Durant with the finish.
Per cleaning the glass, the Suns were plus 6.2 points better per 100 possessions offensively with Durant on the floor. His team's effective field goal percentage consistently jumps by about 6 points when he's playing, a trend at every stop in his career. On paper, it's a perfect fit. A smooth, elite 3-level scorer surrounded by high-motor athletes and a crafty low-post hub in Sengun. But there will be adjustments. This equal opportunity offense will now bend toward a guy who's had the ball in his hands his entire career. Durant's usage rate has been in the 93rd percentile or higher every season. That means fewer touches for Sengun, VanVleet, Thompson, and others. But the trade-off could be massive. The Warriors strangled Houston with zone defense in the playoffs, so improving zone offense and spacing has been a major off-season focus. Expect to see KD as a screener, popping into space, while a big sets a back screen to free him. Fred VanVleet, one of the best guard screeners in the league, can also be used to force mismatches, except now, instead of setting up Sengun post-up, Those switches will free Durant for open jumpers. Finney-Smith brings a different kind of value. He lit up Houston as a Laker last season, hitting 12 of 23s in their late matchups. His team were a plus 10.8 and plus 9.3 points per 100 possessions with him on the court, both Brooklyn and LA respectively. He spaces, relocates, and converts, shooting 42.9% and 43.5% from the corners and nearly 40% above the break. Against zone, that kind of shooting turns probing possessions into quick, clean looks.
Blocked that time by Matthews. Finney-Smith reverse. Whoa!
A team that was bottom 10 in half-court offense now adds two 40% shooters, one of them a top 10 scorer in NBA history. Houston's coaching staff, committed to big offensive improvement, suddenly has endless lineup combinations to create elite spacing. And the homegrown core is only getting better. Alperen Sengun, coming off an all-star year and about to feast with elite spacing. Amen Thompson, a two-way terror who will have more room to slash and more posters to collect. Adams and Capela, the league's most intimidating offensive rebounding duo. And scariest of all, this team is so deep, we haven't even mentioned the player who has a chance to be their biggest X factor for next season. The Rockets might already have their next breakout player in Reed Shepherd. The 21-year-old guard, taken third in the 2024 draft, spent most of his rookie year glued to the bench, with a productive G League stint for the Vipers mixed in, but after the All-Star break, he started making the most of his opportunities. In late April, against the Lakers and Clippers, both fighting for playoff seeding, Shepherd put up a combined 34 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, and 4 steals, while shooting a scorching 10 for 18 from deep. His shooting is exactly what Houston needs. Even though he finished the season at just 33.8% from 3, that number doesn't tell the full story. His role was inconsistent, and for a player known for floor spacing, that matters. When given the green light, Shepherd showed what he can do, like in the Las Vegas Summer League, where he hit 6 threes against the Clippers, most of them heavily contested. He finished the game with a game-high 28 points, plus 8 boards, 4 assists, 4 steals, and 3 blocks in 33 minutes.
I know I don't have to ever say that to him during the year.
Oh, wow. He went mixtape.
Of course, as a number 3 overall pick, you expect him to shine against Summer League competition. But the Rockets weren't just looking at the stat sheet, they were testing him as a leader. In timeouts, Shepherd was brought into the coach's huddle. In practice, they pulled him aside to break down plays, out-of-bounds sets, and free throw situations. They wanted him to run the show, playing fast and free within the principles he learned from Ime Udoka's system. If that's a preview of his role next season, Shepherd's strengths will slide in perfectly next to the Rockets' stars, and any defensive issues will be easier to hide on one of the league's best defensive units. And speaking of defense, Houston has gotten even scarier. Last year, they were already top 5 on that end. Now they've added more physicality, rim protection, switchability, and point of attack pressure. Imagine a lineup with Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jabari Smith Jr., and Kevin Durant. The length is absurd. The Rockets can now match up with anyone and play any defensive style they want. This isn't just a rebuilding team anymore. The Rockets are going all in on winning and developing at the same time. They've been compared to OKC in their approach, and while the two teams aren't identical, Houston is just as aware of the league's current parity. They're gearing up for a fight at the top of the Western Conference, maybe as soon as next season. If everything falls into place, we might be looking at the early stages of a dynasty. Rockets check every box: elite defense, superstar acquisition, young core improvement, depth plus spacing, coaching. They've got the culture, the talent, the coach, and now the closer. The Houston Rockets aren't coming, they're already here. And if you're not ready, you're going to get cooked. Do you think the Rockets truly have what it takes to dethrone the Thunder in the West this season? Let me know in the comments. We're watching their season prep closely, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and don't miss any of our future breakdowns.